Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Wednesday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Anthony Hartwig, Scotty Mincher, and you know what Wednesdays apparently bring Anthony's coughing. Wednesdays bring wrestling Wednesdays with Gary Althiser, who is with us as well. Have a little treat for you guys today as we had an interview with Jake Starkey, one of the top wrestlers in the state from South Range. Interviewed him about a half an hour ago. We're going to play that and then we'll come back and talk even more wrestling on Running Point. So enjoy this interview with Jake Starkey. Hello, welcome into Wrestling Wednesdays. It brings us another great interview with a state-ranked wrestler, Jake Starkey from South Range, joining us here. Jake, thank you so much for the time, bud.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I can't wait to talk about some things. It's going to be good.
My first question is, when you started your high school career, did you have any kind of inkling that you would be sitting here with a possibility of having like 3 state championship trophies that you're able to kind of hold up by the end of your high school career?
No, it's so hard to believe. Starting my freshman year, um, you know, I just didn't know what to expect. It's hard to believe that in the past 4 years, past 3.5 years, I guess, you won 2 state titles, and you could potentially win another one. All that hard work really paid off, and I'm really looking forward to the future.
Well, Jake, I know you were ranked first a couple weeks ago. You're ranked third right now. I mean, I'm taking a wild guess here, but I'm guessing the state championship is your number one goal.
Yeah.
Other than that, what are your goals for the rest of the season?
For the rest of the season, other than obviously state champs, both duels, both team dual state champs. I want to really be individual state champion. Really working forward towards that. So far that's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, those are my goals for now.
All right, so we have to talk about one of your milestones early on in the season. We see a lot of wrestlers get 100 wins in their career. You got 100 pins in your high school career. What was that moment like? I mean, it's something that we don't see too often. What was that moment like for you?
Again, like it's hard to believe that over the past 3.5 years that you get 100 pins. Only like top 50. There's only like 105 is like top 50 in Ohio and like all of history in wrestling. So it's a huge accomplishment. Not a lot of people get 100 pins towards their senior year. So yeah, it's a really good accomplishment.
Jake, what's it like? So what's a different feeling winning a state championship with wrestling compared to football? I mean, I'm sure both have they're both amazing feelings, but with wrestling being the first one, what was it like as a team? I watched it. I saw Colucci. He got that win at 215. That kid made a mistake, sat on his butt, and he pancaked him right to his back. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine what was it like for you guys in that moment.
It was such an emotional moment for all of us. I was behind one of our previous senior wrestlers. I gave him a big hug. I was whispering in his ear, like, I can't believe we just did it. We won a state title. I kept repeating the same thing over and over again in his ear. We won. It was so overwhelming. It was so it was so much to take in. It was such a good experience to have with the other guys. But yeah, relatively football and wrestling state champions are about the same. They show just about as much emotion. The accomplishment is just as good as if you were, in any other state championship.
Great.
Do you feel like that helped prepare you emotionally, get your head right for that championship game with the football team?
I mean, yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, I mean, we all had the same goals and we all wanted to work towards it. So yeah, I guess it did kind of get me ready for football and all that. I didn't really get part of the question.
Well, I just wanted just the mentality, did it, you kind of maybe were a little bit more calm because you've been on a big stage before and you were able to do it. You're able to pull through. So you see sometimes, people will they'll get worked up and they'll kind of not play their best, do their best. But since you guys had already been there with wrestling, just wondered if that kind of helped you be headstrong and more confident in that game.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, not a lot of people won a state championship in South Range yet. When you walk on the field and you got a state title behind your back, you're about to win another one.
Right.
I mean, yeah, definitely gave me some confidence. It definitely kept me calm. I was always ready to, let loose, I guess.
So here's the big question. You got the win last year in the state championship. How has this team stayed hungry? And what's the mentality like now that you're trying to repeat and you're trying to go back with everyone having the target on your back now this year?
It's hard to explain that because you got all these new guys now. They know you want a state championship, but now you got to get everyone else on the same page, right? So I mean, it's like all the new guys. The seniors aren't. The previous seniors aren't here anymore. So like, now it's our job to keep everybody in pace, and we got to keep everybody in check now. Like now it's my turn to keep pushing these guys because if we don't start pushing each other now, then I don't know how we're gonna make it in the state duels. Because that's what's important to me right now. I really want to make it the state duels. I want to win it again because I really think we can. It wouldn't be so bad to be have 3 on me, right? So yeah, that's the plan.
So when you look at some of the things that you think is going to take to reach that goal, you've already talked about keeping everybody together, keeping people on the same page. What are some other things that you think this team needs to do to get themselves into that position again?
A couple things is we got to trust each other. I think that's a huge thing. Trust. We gotta be comfortable. We gotta be more comfortable around each other. We gotta we always gotta be supporting each other. Any aspect in a wrestling match or a wrestling duel, we just gotta be there for each other. We gotta believe in each other. You have a team like that, you can pretty much do anything.
In the practice room, Jake, who is your main drilling partner? This I don't think this is talked about enough. Every good wrestler has a good drilling partner, and that partner can make a big difference in you and how you perform. So who is your go-to guy in the room?
Tyson Seaschultz. He's a freshman. He just won a state championship, OAC. So yeah, he's a really good drilling partner. I think he's top 8 in the state right now at 150. So yeah, he's a really good drilling partner. He shows a lot of emotion. He's just a great drilling partner. He always tells me if I do something wrong and then I can correct it. He always wants to go hard at when we're going live. Yeah, he's just a great drilling partner.
Jake, I just wanted to know when it comes to your wrestling style, the way you attack, I just wanted to know who's been the most influential person other than maybe your coach, but give me somebody else that's been the most influential in your life, in your early wrestling career.
I gotta say it's probably my dad. Hold on, I gotta go to a different device. My Chromebook's about to die. Can I go on my phone real quick, and then I can answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that, guys. I don't want to keep you guys waiting.
You're all good. We'll just pop you out here, and then you can re-enter on your phone. So while actually, no, we know. I like it. Good.
There we go. I'm back. Hold up. All right, that's better.
Much better.
All right, so back to the question. You said who was the most influential? Probably my dad. He's always been a huge supporter of me. He's always been, he always gives me all these life lessons. He's always telling me, hey, you gotta be a leader. Hey, you gotta be a good role model for all these guys. Me and my dad are really alike. We share the same accomplishments. When he was coaching in high school football at, like said Henry, he won 2 state championships, one in 2004, one in 2006. I always wanted to follow under his footsteps because how awesome would it be to have two on you. Um, and the other thing is too is just uh again, my dad has just been a huge supporter of me, and I don't know where I would be without him.
Jake, at the beginning of the season, Gary talked a lot about how wrestling shape and football shape are at different ends of the spectrum, and it's so different to be in wrestling shape compared to football shape. With such a long, grueling state championship season in football, what was it like to come off that and get right into wrestling where you have such high expectations in that sport as well?
It was super hard coming back into wrestling first week because I was so out of shape. I couldn't drill for like about 15-30 seconds without stopping it. Football and wrestling shape are definitely not the same. It definitely takes some time, but after that, after you work on it for a bit, you get used to it. It's adapting. That's all it is.
So Jake, last year you went 1-2 at the state tournament, and I'm sure that's probably been bothering you, and being that you got that state championship in mind. So this year, when you go in, do you have some kind of focus? Is it winning the first match? Is it just keeping yourself loose? How are you going to be mentally prepared this year when you go to Columbus?
One thing my coaches always told me was to don't ever look up. So many people in those stands. There's like thousands of people who are watching all these other wrestlers. One thing they told me was just to never look up. And I did that last year too. But that's one thing I'm going to do. And the other thing too is that my dad always wanted to tell me, "Hey Jake, you're the best on your feet in the state of Ohio. Have some confidence, believe in yourself, don't ever doubt yourself. Think about what your game plan is before a match." That's the kind of stuff I usually think about all the time before my matches. I think if I do that, I think I'll wrestle great.
We've talked about your 100 pins and all the wins that you've racked up. You've been able to wrestle so many great athletes. Is there one win that sticks out to you as like, man, this win is one that I got that will always be in my memory bank?
Um, I haven't had enough of those yet, but like maybe more towards the season I will. I've only had like one difficult match so far, but there definitely will be some close matches that will, like you said, will be worth winning, worth showing to everybody like what I'm made of. But yeah, I see what you're saying. But yes, I haven't really had those yet.
So do you think you said Tice Seashores, he's your drilling partner? I
Yes.
remember when you came in as a freshman, you kind of came in, like I don't know, you were a firecracker as soon as you come in there, man. You were pinning seniors and you were coming out of nowhere. And I can remember asking one of your teammates, I said, "Starkey a freshman?" They said, "Yeah." Do you think he reminds you a lot of yourself? Just coming into that middleweight, the middleweights are tough. That's where the athletic juniors and seniors are. So to come in the middleweight and to be doing as well as he's doing, does he remind you of yourself a couple of years ago?
Honestly, yeah. Yeah. Tyson's doing a great job, and I, yeah. There's pretty much. I don't know how else to say it. He's doing a really good job. He's doing what he's told to do. Just as much as you expect of every other good athlete on our team.
All right, Jake. So you got to take us through a typical match day routine. What's it like for you on match day? What are some of the things that you try to stick to and try to keep yourself in routine with?
One thing I always try doing is that I don't try. I have problem with confidence sometimes. I think a lot of people do too. And I always try to think about like what I've accomplished, what I've done. I always think about like all the things I've done in my life, and I try to build confidence before a match, and I try to build even like adrenaline sometimes. Sometimes things get me pumped up. I move around, I jump around, I shake my hands. I sometimes I tell myself that I'm going to put on a show for everybody to watch me, wrestle, and it just hypes me up. And right before a match, that's when I do it.
Okay, so one more question for you here. Who would you consider your biggest rival this year? You probably had some others who have graduated, but is there anybody that you maybe go back and forth with, or that that you're going to end up seeing here soon that's going to be a big match for you?
Probably Justin Fox. He's from Waterloo. I wrestled a couple times already. Haven't beaten him yet. He just recently dropped down to 157. So, yeah, that'll be a good match. He's top 2 right now, I think, last time I checked. So, yeah, that'll be a good match. We'll probably see each other at EOWL or Hefner. Don't know what way he's going to go, but, whatever happens, happens, and we're just going to go and wrestle. But, yeah, that's probably one of the guys I'm looking forward to wrestling this year.
All right, Jake, thank you again for your time. Before we let you go, I do want to give you the chance to shout out your support system and all the people that have kind of been there for you throughout your career and that have had your back throughout your 4 years.
Yeah, I just want to shout out to my coaches, my teammates, and even my football guys, my football coaches, my family, for all just being there for me and, always believing in me and supporting me. I wouldn't really be here without you guys. And, I'm really grateful for everything you guys have done for me. So thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, Jake, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate you hopping on in the middle of the day to talk with us about your wonderful wrestling career and everything you've been able to accomplish. We wish you the best of luck the rest of the way. We'll be covering you, and we can't wait to talk again real soon.
Yep, thanks for having me, guys. I'll see you later.
Jake Starkey from the South Range joining us for our interview portion of Wrestling Wednesdays. One of the top wrestlers in the state right now, ranked 3 in his weight class. Gary, what were some of your takeaways from that interview and listening to Jake talk about not just his career, but some of his goals for this season?
He was very honest. That was the first thing that jumped out at me. Everything that he said is absolutely 100% true. And I liked how he said that he sometimes battles with self-confidence. I don't think that's something that's talked enough about in the sport. A lot of times, kids, they second guess themselves. When you're out there on the mat, it's you by yourself and, just you and your opponent. Sometimes you can get in your own head and you have no one else to rely on. So it can really take a toll on you if you're starting to overthink things. So he was just honest. He said that, and he talked about what his dad told him, that he was the best in the state on his feet. And he tries to think about those things. How his coaches said, don't look up. You get into a big stage like the state tournament, and if you look up and you see 15,000 people there, I could see how, you're all get caught up in the moment, or you just, oh man, am I really supposed to be here? Am I good enough to be here? Those are the kind of things that go through a kid's head. So I really liked how honest he was, and how much he just kind of he just talked like a kid that wrestles. You could tell that he loves the sport. You can tell that the sport is important to him, but for as good as he is, he was very humble. So it was just nice to see a kid be honest like that and talk about the sport in a genuine way.
It just goes to show you that confidence isn't all about how much success you have. You could be one of the most successful wrestlers that we've seen with 100 pins and still have some trouble with being confident in your own abilities out there on the mat. It's just something that I think is a misnomer. Well, how could he struggle with confidence? He's got 100 pins in his career. Well, it's not exactly success-based. Sometimes it's just something that you have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, it happens to everybody. I remember Cale Sanderson in an interview once said that in college he struggled with some mental things and confidence. And this is a guy that didn't lose a single match his entire college career and really didn't have a close match. A close match in college is not what you think of in high school. Most college matches are, quote, close, but he really didn't have anybody that really challenged him. So if a guy like that can have confidence problems and problems with doubting himself, it can happen to anyone, and it does not matter how good you are. We all get up and have bad days or days where we don't feel our best or feel like we can do or accomplish something that we have a task in front of us. So you are absolutely right. It doesn't matter.
And that was a great interview. We look forward to continuing those segments on Wrestling Wednesdays as we try to highlight as many wrestlers and coaches around the area as we can this season. We'll look forward to next week with that. But Gary, now we've had a whole week of wrestling. I'm sure there are a lot of results that came in. Do you have any results that really stuck out to you in the last week?
No, not this week. There was for some reason that second weekend in January, there isn't a lot going on except for the Top Gun tournament, the Alliance Top Gun tournament. That did happen this past weekend. That is a really big tournament. It used to be one of the toughest in the country. It's still a pretty big tournament. I can't remember how many teams were there. There had to have been like 30 or 40 teams there. There was a couple of locals that were there. I know Alliance had a champion there, and I seen on their, I think it was their Facebook page, they posted it had been the first one in a while.
Mhm.
But other than that, there really wasn't much going on. Everything is kind of the snowball effect of what's going to happen. The rest of the season starts this weekend now. The OVAC tournament is coming up this weekend. Next weekend is the EOWL tournament, and then you have league tournaments, and then people are finishing up their dual schedule, getting ready for sectionals.
So there's the calm before the storm.
Yeah.
As generals like to say on the battlefield. When you think about that Top Gun, though, like I think it's the first time in the last 2 years that they've been able to have it, because obviously COVID canceled it. And I think last year they were about to have it and they had to cancel it last minute, if I remember right, because I think we previewed it, we were ready for it, and then the day before they came out and said, hey, we can't do this. You know, someone came down with something or whatever what it may be, and they had to cancel it again last year. So good to see that back. Anytime that there can be a big event hosted by a school, no matter what the sport, it's big for everyone that shows up there, but it's also big for that school to be able to, you know, call themselves one of the top spots to host that event. And I'm sure Alliance is really proud that they're able to do that again and be one of the premier spots in the wrestling season.
Yeah. Not to mention this is the year that Top Gun returned to theaters. So
Yeah.
have a name like that for a wrestling tournament, I guess the timing is pretty good for it to come back.
You know, I never put that together with the fact that they're the Aviators, and that now totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally.
Scotty, Ant's not the sharpest tool in the shed sometimes, huh?
I was like,
You know,
take your shot, Scotty. Do it.
Okay, yeah.
Come on.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but I do kind of carry.
Yeah,
You do. I mean, he's really got the show on his back. He has the best questions in the interviews.
You got your back sore probably most days, huh,
I know.
Scotty?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the big dog results this week. We had Dominic Pagan from Poland win this week, and we talked about it a little bit last week when we were previewing all the names. I know you know him pretty well, and you've seen him wrestle a couple of times here and there. What do you think makes him a big dog now that we can say that he won? Go into some little bit more specifics about what makes Dom so special.
Yeah, so we wrestled at the same tournament they did the first weekend here this month at the Jackson Milton tournament. We actually wrestled him. He took first place. He won 3 matches that were pretty close. He was able to get a lead and then keep a lead. He's a big muscular kid, and he just kind of worked while he was on the mat. He worked the whole time he was there. I was looking up some of his results, and I might be mistaken, but I don't think he even wrestled last year. So if he did wrestle, he didn't wrestle very much because he didn't have any results that I could find. I could be totally mistaken, but I couldn't find anything from him with Poland last year. So if he didn't wrestle last year, or he didn't wrestle as much, he's really coming out and having a good season here his senior year. I saw his sophomore year, he wrestled 170, so he's kind of at the same weight. He was a state alternate. He got 5th place at the districts that year. So if he is dusting off the cobwebs, if he is trying to get back into, wrestling mode, maybe he was injured last year. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. But he's grinding through a lot of 6-minute matches, going all 3 periods. And that's exactly what you would need to do to get ready to make a run at the postseason. And I'm sure being a state alternate as a sophomore, senior year, his goal is to get to Columbus and get on the podium.
Yeah, and it's so impressive, and that's why it's so nice to see him win a big dog, coming back from missing junior season to coming back and doing what he's doing so far in his senior year. Gary, the big dogs for this week haven't been announced yet, but they will be very soon with the nominees for this week. Got a question for you, since we don't have names to talk about. Who are some names that you haven't seen pop up on the list that you're hoping pop up before the season ends?
Call me selfish, but I have we want, Mason Sims was the big dog of the Valley the first week, I believe, that the first week of wrestling this year. I have a wrestler, his name's Ty Rambo. He's 18-1 right now. Just like what we were just talking about, he missed last year. He missed his sophomore year with some injuries. He was not able to wrestle, and he's been itching to get back on the mat. And he's really come out having a great season. He lost 1 match by 1 point and later avenged that loss at that Jackson Milton tournament in the championship match. He's gone 18-1. He is the 7th seed at the OVAC tournament this weekend. That's one that maybe we'll see on the list at some point coming down. Southern Local has a couple of really good wrestlers. Gabe Blissenbach, Aiden Spallinger, and Wyatt Morris. I'm not sure if they've been on there yet, but all three of them I think are deserving. East Liverpool as well. Johnny Bailey, Damon Stansberry. There are a couple of kids there that really should be on the list. Eric Williams. I don't know if these guys have been on the list, but I don't think that any of these guys have won. So those are the names that come off the top of my head there as I think about it. And, of course, we could name a whole bunch of people from South Range, Austintown, Fitch, Boardman. But those are the ones that I can think of right now off the top of my head. And I think that the cream is going to rise to the top as this season goes on. With the OVAC and EOWL coming around, we're going to see those kids that maybe haven't gotten attention. They will, because they're going to be winning matches and placing and maybe winning some of these bigger tournaments and getting more attention.
You know, one name that pops up that I think I wouldn't mind seeing win big dogs, Hovarth from Louisville. He's a reigning state champion.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
he's probably a favorite to win this year.
Yes. I mean, heck yeah, that's another team in Louisville. They probably got 5 or 6 guys that are deserving every week. I haven't heard much from them this year, but I know that they still have a stacked roster, and they're probably still going to be having, 4, 5, 6 guys on the top 8 in the podium there at Columbus coming up here soon. So we'll see. I'll probably have a better idea of some names that kind of pop through this weekend here coming up. I'll be in Wheeling for the OVAC tournament. Just looked up some stats. There are 452 wrestlers at this tournament this weekend. There will be 43 schools represented in a 3-day event. And I know at one time it was the largest conference tournament in the country. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but the tournament's so big that they rent out West Banco Arena in Wheeling for 3 days. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and it starts tomorrow with the opening round at 6 p.m.
Yeah, talk a little bit. We were talking before the show went on about what kind of atmosphere that is and what it's like to go down there and be a part of it. Can you put into words what it's like to kind of be a part of that atmosphere and look up and see such a big arena and be able to play in it?
Oh, it's super exciting. It's a great tournament to be in. It's I'm thankful that we're in the conference and that we're able to go there every year. It's a minor league hockey arena. I think it seats like 5,000 people. So it's a big arena. The finals are televised. They'll be on WTRF.com at 3:15, I think, on Saturday. So it's a big deal. It's a big arena. It's all those schools. You get to see kids from Ohio and West Virginia and from several different divisions. I think the biggest school in the OVAC has something like 2,000 kids in their high school. So, I mean, it's one of the biggest schools. I think it's Morgantown High School in West Virginia. They might even have more than that. I'm not sure. But coming from us, where we got 50 to 55 kids a grade, to a school like that has 500, that's how varied it is and how diverse. You got from small schools, and there's schools smaller than us there as well, all the way to these schools that really are the size. These high schools are the size of some small colleges.
I know Mason Sims is going to have a good shot. He's one of the top seeds, but I'm looking and I'm seeing Warren local senior Haley Snyder trying to become the first female OVAC champion, and that might be someone that gives him a little bit of a push. Yeah,
Mason's the number 1 seed. It's the first time Wellsville's had a number 1 seed in 8 years. We had a champion in 2015, Seth Bloor. I think he was seeded first at that tournament. Mason is seeded first. Haley is an amazing wrestler, and she placed last year in the OVAC, the first time ever for a female to place. I think that she was 7th place at the 113-pound weight class, and now she's down to 106. She's won a couple of state championships, girls' state championships. She is one of the most fundamentally sound wrestlers I've ever watched in high school. She knows where to be in every position, and the fact that she's wrestling in such a hard tournament like this with the boys just shows that she is up for the competition. I'll be excited to see how she does this weekend. She's on the other side of the bracket from Mason. So if she is able to get through the semifinals, win her semifinal match, and Mason is the same, then we'll meet in the finals. So it's going to be a fun weekend for sure.
And then Beaver Local, who is a team that we talk about a lot, they have a freshman in Robert Bucci that might be their best chance to put someone on the top of the podium. A freshman coming into that OVAC and one of the favorites for them. So Beaver Local has a wrestler there that might give them a good shot as well.
Yeah, Beaver Local has. I got the numbers here. Beaver Local has 8 seeds for the YSN schools. Southern has 3. We have 2. Edison, East Liverpool, both I believe have 4. Those are all the ones that the YSN schools that I could remember off the top of my head. But the Buhite kid from East Liverpool, he is very good. He's a tough wrestler. He's got a lot of experience. He's been wrestling his whole life, and I know the people at within that Beaver Local program believe he can be a 4-time state placer. Get on the podium 4 times there in Columbus. So they believe that he's really got a chance to do some special things. This will be the first chance I'll get to see Beaver Local this year. So I'll be interested to see how that team does. It's a very young Beaver Local team, but they still have tough wrestlers in nearly every weight class. And I'm sure that they'll be in the running for the top of the to win their class there in the OVC. The OVAC has 4 different classes in wrestling.
Young team, but I'm sure having senior Zane McCoy is a big boost for them to have at least one senior pin. I think he's talking about 3rd seeded in his weight class for Beaver Local. So having that one senior that's really a staple to your program's got to be good for a young team.
Oh yeah. McCoy, he was a placer last year. We actually wrestled him in the finals. He's been around the Beaver program for a while. He's a classic heavyweight. He looks like a heavyweight. He's built like a heavyweight. He wrestles like a heavyweight, and he's been there before. You got a room full of freshmen and sophomores on the team. That's definitely a good for them to see a senior who's been there and done this already. It'd be good for them to look up to him.
8 returning champions in the OVAC tournament this weekend. So eight wrestlers that were champions last year coming back for trying to repeat as a champion this year. So it'll be a fun one for our YSN teams to try to knock off maybe some reigning champions and get on the podium because none of those 8, I believe, are YSN schools. I think they're all non-YSN teams, if I'm not mistaken. I know Oakland has one.
Yeah. Oakland, one of the best teams there in West Virginia, right across a stone's throw from East Liverpool. Just a quick shot across the bridge. You're in Bear Country over there. They got a really great tradition going there. They have a 113-pounder who's a returning champ from last season. But of all the YSN schools, Buhite kid will definitely he has a chance to win it. But I think Eric Williams really he really could be in that finals. His brother has won. He won a couple OVAC championships. So it'll be interesting to see how Eric does. He did not get to wrestle last year. He was hurt last year. And then I think the year before that, there was no OVAC tournament because of COVID. So I'm sure that he's pretty excited to see what he can do and carry on that Williams tradition to bring home a championship.
It's going to be a real fun weekend. We're looking forward to it. Scotty, you got any last thoughts for Gary before we let him go?
Yeah, I do have one question for you, Gary. You and Anthony, and I think it's a good way. It got me thinking of something I find interesting. I wanted your take on. You and Anthony were talking about the people that come out and support these wrestlers and the huge crowds at some of these events, the big fans. So, and we've talked about a lot on shows in the past, home field advantage in football, home court in basketball. Do you think fans that show up at these matches, do you think the crowd has just as much a significant impact in wrestling as it does in, say, basketball or football? And if you had to put a percentage on it, how much the crowd could affect a match, what would you think it would be?
I think it might even be more of a factor in wrestling because you are by yourself. And if you're wrestling in a duel, a tournament, you could have several matches going on. But if you're wrestling in a duel at your home place where everybody's watching you, I mean, I've seen just from my kids alone, the effort that they give sometimes at home in a match, at a duel match, the effort and the will and the drive that they have is definitely more than they can sometimes have in away matches or in tournaments where there's so much going on when all the eyes are on you, just you and your opponent, and everybody's watching, and it's your home community there. With a team sport, obviously it hypes people up, but if you got multiple people out there at once, not all the attention's on you, but when all the attention is on you, all the eyes are on you, everybody is just watching you and what you're doing on the mat. I feel like it could, what percent? I mean, I don't know. It'd be hard to say, but I could definitely tell you that I've seen kids put in twice the effort at a home match in a duel in front of their community than I've seen at other places. And I'm not just talking about mine. I mean, everywhere. When you go and wrestle some place and it's their home match, I tell my kids all the time, look, they're going to be given 1,000%. They do not want to lose, especially if it's a big match, if there are a lot of people there watching, if it's a rivalry. I'm just telling my guys that, hey, you're going to have to put just as much effort in out there because these guys are pumped up and they want to win in front of their home crowd.
All right, Gary, it was a great week. We love having you on like we do every week. Can't wait to recap that OVAC next week when you come on Wednesday. It's going to be a fun one. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for coming on for episode 5 of Wrestling Wednesdays.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.